Go. Brad Nelson on your right, Sam Black on your left. It's Teamer Energy, it's 4-color energy, and we will be underway here in just a moment. Again, on Brad's side, he's a big fan of 3-color. On Sam, he prefers 4 colors. He'll start things off with a Rootbound Crag. For Brad, it's Botanical Sanctum. And the card that people want banned, Patrick, Attune with Ether.
If you want to take some power out of this deck, I don't think it would be the worst choice. It's not, to me, the most offensive design in the deck. That would be Rogue Refiner.
I think, yes, I would agree.
But Attune, certainly the glue that binds this deck together.
Sam has a Botanical Sanctum of his own into a Long Tusk Cub as we head back over to Nelson. And Brad looks like he might play another Attune here, given that the deck only has a 1-mana spell, a single one. That means he does not have a Harness Lightning or an Abrade just yet. But what's going to be interesting about watching this matchup is how Brad kind of approaches things. Long Tusk Cub is kind of a kill on sight kind of card.
It's interesting in the mirror match, and a lot of the threats in this deck in the mirror match, they have a lot of variance in how powerful they are from game to game. Long Tusk Cub on the play, unchecked, can actually get you really far ahead. That can be a game-winning play. But turn 6, turn 7, it's regularly outclassed by other things that are going on.
Now, Brad does have another 1-mana spell that's not Attune. He is playing one main deck copy of Magma Spray. I do know that at Grand Prix Atlanta, Nelson was playing a lot of main deck copies of Confiscation Coup. This weekend, only one in the main deck. So he's changed up his build of things a touch this weekend. As you see both players getting out their Jacob Ball energy tokens. Long Tusk Cub going to come across here for 2. Nelson going to fall down to 18. And Black, more importantly, going to get himself some energy on the board. He's up to 2.
That's what's interesting about the Bristling Hydra conversation is you have some of the world's best Magic players saying, I'm playing 2 because it's so bad in the mirror. And some also saying, I'm playing 4 because of how good it is in the mirror match.
Yeah, the opinion on this card is very, it's very disjointed. Some people really feel strongly about it, others do not. It's kind of strange to see.
And I think it speaks to just these games play out a lot different from game to game. Not all the cards. The game is mostly on the table. It's very tactile, and so the threats and the answer cards, some games are going to look great and some games are going to look really poor.
Well, Patrick, we've got our bingo boards here. We'll be posting these on social media at SCG Tour as well as on Star City Games Twitter as well. So make sure you're following both of those. I'm going to give you your stamper here, and the reason I'm getting your stamper is because I'm actually going to get out my stamper because we're watching an energy mirror match. So bang, on the board. Okay. On the board for Team Cedric. Hashtag. Don't forget the hashtag. Do not forget that hashtag as we go over to Black. Now, Nick Miller's done some nice work here getting these ready for us. And I am ready. Did I beat you last time? I think you won, actually, when we were in Cincinnati.
I have.
Yeah.
Already forgotten.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the lifetime score is you're up 1-0. As here's an Attune with Ether from Sam Black. He's up to 6 energy. On my bingo board, I do have one player who has 10 or more energy.
Okay.
I'm working my way there.
I don't think I have anything yet.
Okay. Okay. It's a slow build to victory. I did get comically lucky in defeating Craig Krempels a couple weeks ago in Baltimore. That was actually just one of the more lucky things that ever has happened to me in my entire life. So it's my lifetime score is 1-1 as here comes Black with a Rogue Refiner and a Long Tusk Cub. Nelson, as you see, has a Whirler Virtuoso. He has 8 energy on the battlefield right now. Looks like Virtuoso is going to jump in front of Rogue Refiner. Nelson looking to make a trade here. Black extremely unlikely to have anything like a Blossoming Defense or anything. You don't see Teamer or energy decks in general really play that card outside of the Sultai versions that have Winding Constrictor. So you're also going to see Nelson make a Thopter as he goes from 8 energy down to 5. How about another Thopter? You're reaching for your stamper. Is there a reason?
Virtuoso makes 2 Thopters.
Oh my, come on.
2 Thopters.
2, okay. Patrick on the board now. Nelson going to fall down to 2 energy now. Congrats on that big win right there for you.
Thank you.
It's big.
Interesting to see now. Does Black want to push a little bit with this Cub?
He's reaching. So it looks like he does. He's going to put 2 counters on the Cub. You're reaching.
Long Tusk Cub with power 4 or more.
And Sullivan moves into the lead. Okay.
So Black here still with the option of protecting the Cub from something like Harness Lightning or Chandra, should he feel like it, and also leaving some energy in the chamber for future endeavors.
Serving the conduit post-combat there for Sam as we head back over to Brad, who's got 2 Thopters, 3 lands, 2 energy. The lands are a Mountain, a Botanical Sanctum, and a Ether Hub.
There's also the question of, you know, how much energy do you really want to expend in that spot when Nelson has made himself 2 chump blockers?
Yes.
So Black trying to split the difference here of a variety of competing factors. Lands with it on a 4/4 for now.
I do remember Nelson and his brother, Corey Baumeister, they have been, I don't know the best way to put it, destroying Standard over the past half year. Maybe the entire year. As Brad is going to play a copy of Chandra, Torch of Defiance, take care of that servant of the conduits. Chandra will fall down to 1 counter as we'll head back over to Sam Black. He'll untap that Cub along with 4 lands. Draw a card. Nelson very clearly saying, I want to keep you off of 5 or 6 mana. And maybe, Patrick, he had some real interest in just cutting Sam off of potential black source.
Yes. And also going after the Cub, not very effective in this spot either.
Absolutely. You see the chump block right away. The Cub went after Chandra. Nelson threw a Thopter token away. So he's down to just 1/1/1 flyer. And now we'll see how Black does want to follow up. He'll go with the Bristling Hydra. 3 energy will bring him up to 9. I'm 1 away from 10. Those of you keeping track at home, it's a pretty big deal as we head back over to Nelson. Nelson will draw a card. Now, this is a spot to me where Hydra looks very good.
Yes. And, you know, it's not the easiest for Nelson's deck to really outclass at this spot because he doesn't have the black splash in his deck. And the burden right now is really high on removing the Planeswalker. Very hard to brawl with Sam's creatures because they're so large, and both of his threats also pretty protected against removal spells.
Yeah. Also, Brad on the short end of the energy payout. Only 2 energy that he's working with.
Yeah, 6 got devoted into that Whirler Virtuoso from a few turns back.
Looks like Nelson's going to get 2 red mana from Chandra. I feel like Glorybringer's coming on. It is, and he is going to, I believe, attack, no exert, play a hub, move up to 3 energy. The follow-up is a Cub. Pass the turn back, rhyming a hub with Cub not on my bingo board, but a Glorybringer attacking without exerting is on my bingo board. Hello, 2/2. We'll head back over to Black, who's got the Swamp now. Now, does he have the Scarab God or Vraska Relic Seeker? That is the question. Looks like Bristling Hydra ready to attack. Going to go after Chandra, and it looks like Cub is just going to go after Nelson. We'll see how Nelson wants to kind of handle this, because as things kind of appear right now, best creature on the battlefield for Nelson is the Glorybringer right now, and then best non-creature permanent is, of course, Chandra. So he's got to, you have to imagine, care about having that Planeswalker around to generate some sort of advantage for a while.
Although Black kind of indicating that he's not terribly concerned with Chandra, as the Lawntusk Cub is going after Nelson here.
It's true. The splitting the difference as Nelson has a little bit to think about here.
I would imagine that a Whirler Virtuoso token, a Thopter here, is lower in value than an activation of the Chandra next turn. So that chump block seems pretty reasonable to me. Brawling with the Cub here, kind of impossible.
Yeah.
Although, you know, with Sam having access to 9 energy, the Cub's a 4/4. I mean, this is, he doesn't get a lot of breathing space here. I like the attack with the Cub on Nelson, because I think the damage that you have on the table plus the damage that you're threatening is more valuable than forcing Nelson to chump block with a Cub. And you potentially get the energy for your trouble as well.
Yeah.
And I think if you send both the creatures at Chandra, Nelson probably just says...
He just lets it go,
yeah,
right?
he just let it go.
Yeah.
It's a really savvy attack there from Sam.
Sam's up to 11 energy. So he'll play a Cub, pass the turn back, and I will stamp one player who has 10 or more energy. 3/2, set EP. That's me, by the way. Glorybringer the draw here from Nelson. Well, we saw him just go to the skies previously, and I think he might have some interest in doing so again.
You look at the mana that black has up, and if you commit all this mana to playing another Glorybringer, and then you get tagged with Harness.
Yeah, Harness Lightning.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
Really bad here. It's also tough because Nelson would like to be, I think, a little bit on the back foot here, protecting his Planeswalker. But the Glorybringers really compel him to attack. And I think if the game gets turned into a race, he's kind of behind on the table.
He'll plush his Chandra. It's a hub. So Sam's going to take 2. He's going to fall down to 14. I'm sure that Brad would like to race. I just don't think the tools are there to do so at this point.
Well, having the Glorybringers back on defense is a lot worse than having them attack.
Yeah.
So I think his hand is a little bit forced here. Just saying go with your 2 Glorybringers doesn't seem like a tenable line to me.
So here's the second Glorybringer. That was the draw step for the turn. Well, you mentioned Harness, and there one is there from Black. And Brad knows he's beaten. He's going to concede the game. So Sam Black's going to win game number 1 here over Brad Nelson. His 4-color Energy going to be up a game here over Teamer Energy. Both players are going to go to the sideboards, and we'll be doing that in just a moment. But first, a couple words from our sponsors. Now we will turn our attention to the sideboards here for both players. We'll start with Nelson, who has 4 negates, 3 Chandra's Defeat, 3 Vizier of Many Faces, 2 Supreme Wills, a Confiscation Coup, a River's Rebuke, and a Nissa, Steward of Elements. A couple cards here in the mid-range mirror.
And this is where a lot of the cat and mouse in the mirror comes up too. A lot of it centers around Chandra's Defeat. Do you try to blank the card? Do you not bring it in at all? Do you just keep all of your red cards in the deck and hope to avoid it? It's tough, and people have different philosophies on that. I think the Viziers and the Confiscation Coup and the Nissa are all easy to bring in, and then Chandra's Defeat, that depends on where Brad thinks Sam's at.
Yeah, Sam's got the same questions he's got to ask too, because he's got 3 negate but 3 Chandra's Defeat of his own. He's got 2 Confiscation 2 Appetite for the Unnatural, a Magnum Spray and a Braid, a Spell Pierce, only 1 Vizier of Many Faces for Sam, where Brad has 3, and then he also has a singular Nissa as well.
So the Nissa, the Vizier, and the 2 copies of Confiscation Coup are going to come in for sure, and then again past that, I think the Chandra's Defeat question that's the big one.
This card generally we do see players bring in. It does take care of Chandra itself, obviously, given the name of the card. Also going to take over Glorybringer. Players don't really leave in my experiences, Whirler Virtuoso very much in the mirror. It's not really so much about that card and the 1/1s that it does make. You saw in that game for Nelson. It bought him some time, I suppose, but not much past that.
And he kind of got it in somewhat of the idealized spot, too, where you make a trade, you make a bunch of Thopters, you follow up with a Planeswalker. Now your Planeswalker is guarded. That's kind of the best case scenario for Whirler Virtuoso. And even there, Sam's Cub and then just curve of threats, it was just really a speed bump there.
And Brad's
didn't amount to much.
Brad's real lack of removal.
Yes.
That game also did not help matters. So we prepare here for game number 2, and we will watch Brad on the play, Sam on the draw, as Black is currently up a game.
And I think also play draw influences whether or not you want Chandra's Defeat as well.
Sure.
For example, in Sam's article, he mentioned that he really likes, if memory serves, he mentioned that he likes Cub on the play, but not on the draw in the mirror match. That means you're swapping out more cards. That means if you're keeping in Cub, it's more likely that red cards are being cut from your main deck, et cetera, et cetera. So this is all very complicated.
Sam is going to go back to the drawing board here. He is not happy with his opening hand. Brad Nelson is happy with his. So Brad will be on the play here, and we will see the initial Players Champion back in 2014. See if he can tie things up here against Sam Black, who's had plenty of success on the SCG Tour.
Attention Magic players. Jorge Esquivel, please report to customer service. Again, Jorge Esquivel, please report to customer service.
For Nelson, the 31-year-old who does reside in Roanoke, Virginia, with his 10 open top 8s, 3 wins, 3 invitational top 8s, looking for number 4 here this weekend, and maybe win number 2 for the avid StarCraft 2 fan, who, as I did mention, won our first Players Championship back in 2014. Great golfer, and still for me, I don't know about you, still the best standard player in the world.
Maybe I mean, his brother is.
I was going to say maybe his brother. Maybe it
Yeah.
rubbed off. I don't know.
And Brad, you know, he just puts in a ton of work.
Yeah.
Originally from North Dakota, and kind of the first person to break through Magic Online, playing in a big prevalent way, and Magic Online definitely lets you get the reps in.
Oh yeah. And his build this weekend is what's kind of telling to me, just because it's different from the build that we saw at Grand Prix Atlanta. That him and Corey basically played the same deck. I think same 75 that tournament a couple weekends ago. Corey, of course, making the top 8 before being eliminated by Ben Stark and his treasure red deck. But you know, at that weekend, as I mentioned, they had 3 copies of Confiscation Coup in their main deck and various other numbers, where this weekend they only have 1. 4 Bristling Hydras here, 4 Glorybringer. Some of these cards not going to surprise you. 4, you know, Rogue Refiner, Long Tusk Cup, Servant of the Conduit, no surprise there. But he's always tinkering as Nelson, as the Servant of the Conduit here from Black is almost certainly going to die, and it will via Harness Lightning. So both players, a little energy to start the game off. Nelson with 1, Black with 2, thanks to the Servant. Now Nelson's going to follow up with Whirler Virtuoso, so he has left at least 1 copy, and as he goes up to 4 energy.
Attention Magic players, if you'd like to sign up for the 1
Black draws a mountain for the turn.
challenge, this is your
He'll deploy
last
that mountain and simply pass the turn back. No Rogue Refiner or Whirler Virtuoso here for Sam, so you have to imagine there's a removal spell at the ready. For Nelson. It'll be a Rootbound Crag that enters the battlefield untapped thanks to that forest. And now here comes Whirler Virtuoso for 2. Black going to fall down to 18. See if Nelson has a follow-up here. He does not, so he'll just pass the turn back. Both players off to what I would consider, Patrick, kind of a slow start.
Well, I think the post-board games are more likely to be the smaller stuff is out of people's decks, and they're playing with larger stuff.
Brad is playing a Supreme Will on Sam's end step. So he's going to take a look at the top 4 cards. Take 1. We'll call it an expensive impulse. How's that sound?
Yeah. And also, I think there's a certain amount of jockeying post-board because of Confiscation Coup. I think you want to avoid just, here's a big thing, all right, it's stolen.
Yeah, I lose now.
So I think you're going to see people try to find other lines of play rather than just tapping out for random big stuff that can be stolen immediately.
Looks like Nelson might make a Thopter too. He's going to try to increase the clock a little bit here. He's going to fall from 4 energy down to 1. So 3 power on the battlefield here for Brad. He'll draw a card for the turn, and he'll come across for 3. See if Sam's got anything here to maybe take care of Whirler Virtuoso now. He's actually going to take care of the Thopter with Magma Spray.
Can't be too proud.
Nah. Here's an attune from Brad. Brad asking if that's going to resolve. Doesn't want to assume anything. He's going to give Sam a little respect here of having something. Here's Harness Lightning. That's going to take care of the Whirler Virtuoso. And now the attune will resolve. So Brad's going to search up a land. He'll get 2 energy. Going to move up to 3 here in just a moment. It looks like he's going to play the island that he searched for with the attune. And now he'll play Servant. He's up to 5 energy. And we'll be going back to Sam in just a moment.
That Whirler Virtuoso there has to be considered a pretty big win there for Nelson. Got 2 cards out of Sam, who's already on a mulligan to 6.
And a little bit of damage in too.
Yep.
Yeah. Sam with land 5, but just passing the turn back. So we're going to head back over to Nelson, who's got 3 mana. And the very powerful Rogue Refiner is here. That'll resolve. He's up to 7 energy, and he gets to draw a card too. Heck of a card there. Now he'll come across for 2 with the Servant. Black's going to fall down to 14.
And Nelson here pretty well situated against Confiscation Coup, certainly.
Black's got the Swamp. He didn't have to search for it. He just has it. Does he have the Vraska or the Scarab God? The answer is no. Just a Whirler Virtuoso here for Sam. Trigger on the stack. Brad looks like he's going to use Harness Lightning. You see Sam only has 3 energy right now. He'll go up to 5 total, but he doesn't get to use the Whirler Virtuoso. As Nelson, he knows that trick. We'll head back over to Brad.
Black only 2 at the exact moment, 2 energy at the exact moment when Whirler Virtuoso comes in on the battlefield, so Nelson there with a window.
Brad comes across there for 5, and now he'll play a Vizier of Many Faces, copying a Rogue Refiner, pass the turn back. And again, as you mentioned, Confiscation Coup.
Not a big deal.
Not a big deal right now. Maybe kind of the plan. As there is the Scarab God. Now that might be a big deal.
Well, this is the issue with the Scarab God mirror match. Very powerful, but you can just get tempoed out of the game.
Now, if you get to untap Stable Battlefield, life is good with the Scarab God. Now, it looks like Brad has another copy of Vizier of Many Faces. Doesn't surprise you too much because he has so many copies after sideboard. He copies there. We're going to harness Lightning here. That'll take care of the Scarab God momentarily, but it's only a moment, which Nelson needs.
Yes. Also,
Sam will get the Scarab God back now.
That would have also been a window where Confiscation Coup would have been devastating as well.
Basically game over, yeah.
So you can see you're trying to avoid just tapping out for a big thing. But Black not with a lot of options in that spot.
Yeah, and that's actually just kind of what you mentioned at the top, where Brad, in that particular game, Confiscation Coup not going to do much. Not going to do much against Brad in that particular game.
And it's interesting there too, because both of these players we're talking about post board, they're loading up on all these 4s and 5s and whatever. But both games we've watched so far, someone's kind of gotten ahead on the table a little bit and just beating the other person down.
Yep.
So the game can take that shape too. You can't just load up on all these expensive cards.
Well, both players are going to go back to the drawing board here. We'll see if one of them does run downhill with 2 mana and 3 mana spells and creatures in game number 3. But for now, once again, a few messages from our sponsors. So we have to imagine now, with Sam on the play, if he took those Cubs out on the draw for game 2, probably back in?
Based on my recollection of his article, that was the philosophy he articulated.
What's your stance on that, Cub being bad on the draw? That makes sense to you?
It does. I mean, if they play any 2 or any 3, it's not very good.
Yeah.
So if you go Cub and then have a removal spell for their 2, then you're way ahead.
Mm-hmm.
If they play a 2 and then you play a Cub, it's unlikely that your 1 removal spell will allow your Cub to connect the following turn.
Sure.
Because it's so likely they have another play or a removal spell of their own.
Like a Hydra, a Chandra,
just whatever.
Something. Yeah. Plus, if they go 2-drop, 3-drop, what's even the point?
I think there's more of a burden of proof on. I think you can talk yourself a lot into maybe Warlord Virtuoso is not great in some of the post-board games, but whatever, at least you have 3 energy for your trouble, you can convert it. If your Cub dies at a loss of profit, you have nothing to show for it.
Sure.
So I think you have to have a little bit more certainty that it's going to carry some weight than some of the other cards that have a higher floor.
Well, we're all tied up here as we take a moment to learn a little more about Sam Black, a player that we have seen have plenty of success here on the SCG Tour as well. The 35-year-old from Madison, Wisconsin, he's got 3 open top 8s, invitational top 8 as well. Writes on extensive topics outside of Magic and looking for publication. Big-time cook. I know that he dabbles in everything.
Yes.
Honestly. Former #1 Dreamblade player in the world, and he's very good at just a ton of different card games.
Oh, I have worked on a variety of non-Magic products, and Sam has popped his head up in a variety of them to much success.
He's got 2nd place in something.
Was it Epic?
I think it was Epic, yeah. I think it was Epic. He just run it up in a different.
I worked on WoW Minis,
Okay.
World of Warcraft miniature game.
Yeah.
That had a short time as a product release.
Okay.
But anyhow, Sam was one of the best of that game too, maybe the best.
Yeah.
Versus system, I think he was in that for a little while. Can't recall. Anywho,
He dabbles in it all.
He is not limited to Magic. He just loves games and gaming, and if you announce a cash prize,
He'll be there.
he'll be there.
He will be there. Yeah.
He will be there.
If we're playing for something relevant, he will be there. And the improvement that we've seen in his Magic career over the past decade, from just kind of being a PTQ player to a Pro Tour end boss basically at this point.
It's interesting. Sam has talked about, he's said several times, as far as the Pro Tour goes, I'm not the best technical player.
Mm-hmm.
I need to get an edge in deck building. Sometimes I think that has landed him in a spot where he has played unorthodox decks for the sake of doing it, and trying to find that balance of playing with something a little outside the box and unexpected to leverage your skills while not just doing it for the sake of doing it.
Sure.
And I think Sam's gotten himself into a really good spot as far as that goes.
Well, he's doing something very mainstream this weekend. I will say that.
When the Sam Black is just playing with Teamer cards, energy cards, that's a very strong statement about the shape of the format.
Here's a Rogue Refiner. And Brad, I believe, is going to play in a braid on that as Sam gets his card in 2 energy. We'll head back over to Nelson here in just a moment. Looks like he's already drawn his card for the turn. Now he's figuring out exactly what he wants to do. As he'll play a Forest. And he's got a Supreme Will ready, but no Rogue Refiner, no Warlord Virtuoso, no way to get onto the battlefield here. As we'll head back over to Black. Looks like Black is without a 4th land, so Nelson will play a Supreme Will. Not to counter anything, but to impulse, just like we saw in the second game. Brad got to decide what he wants here. I don't think he's going to select a mountain.
I like the look of Supreme Will in this matchup.
It's pretty nice, right? It's got some flexibility here.
Right. And you can see yourself in the market for Mana Leak a good percentage of the time. And also, like, Mana Leak doesn't matter. It's about finding particular cards, or the game has gone on for a long time. I need to find one of my haymakers.
Yeah.
And it slots into both of those roles really nicely.
So Nelson's going to pick up a mountain. Now he'll draw a card. Picked up another copy of Rootbound Crag. Does not look like mana's going to be an issue here for Brad. Play a Rogue Refiner, see if this is going to resolve. Sam going to take a look at his hand. That's fine. Up to 2 energy goes Brad. More importantly, he's going to get himself a card. There is the Rootbound Crag he drew for the turn. He'll play that. And Harness Lightning will take care of the Rogue Refiner. Sam will go up to 3 energy. Sam wants a 4th land, though. He sort of found it.
That would have been a big window because he could have played a Planeswalker on an empty board. He at least has some mana now to work with, but that was a window for Black to maybe 6 something larger.
It's a little more energy, too, as he searches up a swamp. So he also finds the 4th color of mana. That'll be his land for the turn, and we pass it back over to Nelson.
Although unclear, Black would even want to take that kind of line, again, because of the threat of confiscation.
Absolutely. So we're going to head back Brad's way. He's got land 5 already on the battlefield. That part was easy. The question is, what does he want to do next?
It's like nothing.
Well, then we're going back over to Sam. Sam's got land 5. He's got Chandra number 1. And with Brad not on the battlefield here at all, this could be a little worrisome. Chandra's going to come down, go up to 5, reveal his Warlord Virtuoso.
Now you're not in Glorybringer, doesn't take it down 1 shot, which is really nice.
Now Brad has drawn a Glorybringer, but he also has his own Chandra. Now there's Chandra's defeat, not much of a surprise, and that's where it's great, right?
Yes.
1 mana, take care of your Glorybringer, protect my Chandra. Let's keep this moving.
And let's say you're in Black seat right now. Brad did nothing. He didn't respond to the Chandra and didn't do anything else with his mana. And then he plays Glorybringer. It's very likely his hand is just a lot of removal. And now you go to the second Planeswalker here in Vraska. And if Brad couldn't handle the Chandra, pretty unlikely he can handle this as well.
There is Vraska Relic Seeker, 6 mana, 6 loyalty, up to 8 already. This is a card that does break the mirror open all by itself. And if memory does serve, Vraska does make a pirate. Go to the old bingo board. It's not on yours. Don't look at yours. No. It's on mine. It's on mine. There we go. Vraska just made a pirate. 4-2. That's my lead. Chandra going to fall down to 1, it appears. But Brad is in some serious trouble right now because Vraska just going to do things all by herself now. Chandra's defeat is what Brad was doing there with the looting. Going to plus the Chandra that he now plays. Immediately going to kill the Chandra. So he's taking care of 1 Planeswalker, but the other one, 8 loyalty, maybe up to 10 here in a moment, Patrick?
Yep.
That's a lot of work to be done here for Nelson.
And some bodies that are not trivial to answer either.
It's very true. Those pirates that Black can start churning out. One of them is going to attack Chandra. He'll make another one. The follow-up here for Black. Looks like it's going to be 5 mana's worth. Oh, the Scarab God. Well, here's the splash, folks.
Yes.
This is the 1-2 punch. And when the battlefield looks like this, where Black is not under pressure from Rogue Refiners and Long Tusk Cups and things of that nature, that's where these Black cards in Scarab God and Vraska look great.
And I think that's, you know, and it may look like a little bit of risk against Confiscation Coup, but Nelson there with only 1 blue source of mana, his Botanical Sanctums and Spire Bluff Canals would come into play tapped at that spot. So there aren't actually that many lands that Nelson's drawing to, even if he has it.
Harness Lightning is going to take care of the Scarab God. Momentarily, of course, as you see Sam has placed it in his graveyard to the side. We head back over to Black. He's still got this Planeswalker working, and Nelson's going to try to overcome it. Nelson only with 3 energy, so can only turn out 1 Thopter, unfortunately for him. And Black, I think we might see him go after Chandra with these menace creatures. Harness Lightning will take care of that. Chandra is going to bite the dust. And Black is making this look pretty easy right now. I think Black's last card is actually Confiscation Coup. And so he'll make another Pirate, get back the Scarab God with the trigger, pass the turn back over to Nelson. So we go back over to Brad. He's trying to make a heck of a comeback here. It's going to be pretty tough as he's drawing a tune for the turn. Got a lot of cards in his hand. Looks like this Thopter is going to go over.
That's why when people talk about getting the edge in the mirror match, I question it, because a lot of these games seem like they come down to there's a lot of really good 3 and 4 or 5 mana cards. You have answers to them in your deck. If your answers ever line up the wrong way, you lose.
Yep.
And so I think it's more important to have your own game plan and know how you want to be sideboarding and what your approach is to the matchup, rather than playing what you think like the best, in quotes, the best cards for the mirror match are.
Sure.
Sometimes the Scarab God is awesome and sometimes it's awful. And the same is true of the Planeswalkers.
Yep. I mean, think about what we saw in the last game. The Scarab God came down, did nothing. Right now, this game, it is looming over this entire game. It's this specter that Brad has to worry about now. And in this spot, it's good. In other spots, it's not. In the abstract, it's a very powerful card.
I'm not saying it doesn't matter, play whatever you want, but it is questionable just how much of an edge you can get. I think that most of the edge is on the table. It's about playing the games well and sculpting your game plan.
Sure.
I don't think it's so much about the individual cards you happen to be playing.
Well, Sam's going to go back to the Scarab God. Makes a lot of sense. Plays a land, Confiscation Coup, last card left in hand. We go back over to Nelson. Remember, Brad's got 3 copies of Vizier of Many Faces in his deck after sideboard. So there is some copying to be done of the Scarab God potentially here. But Brad knows he's got to get himself out of a very difficult situation. There's a Vraska, there's a Scarab God, and there's also a Vraska that's on 11. If we take a look at the powerful Planeswalker again, its ultimate is 10. Target player's life total becomes just a measly old 1.
It's a combo with Menace Pirates.
You nailed it. You nailed it, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Coffee kicked in.
Yeah, it is.
He is back.
Because you probably have some creatures if you've been plussing it.
Yes.
And then it's hard to block.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. River's Rebuke, however, is going to reset things.
It's a big one there for Nelson. I
Yes.
mean, he's still got a ton of work to do here.
But this is a situation he can kind of come back from, because with Sam's hand, how it's lined up, he's 1 spell a turn right now. And Nelson might be able to double spell potentially as he replays Vraska, makes a Menace Pirate.
His hand's a little bit chunky, Black's is, but so is Nelson's. I mean, he's been kind of on 1 spell territory for a while here as well.
Well, one thing you notice is Brad was kind of being overwhelmed by Vraska and the Scarab God. No panic.
Right.
No panic. It looks like just the body language that we see. You can call me the body language doctor. He's got a plan.
I will not call you that.
Okay, don't call me that then. But it looks like he's got a plan. Actually, on my bingo space, it says, you call me the body language doctor. So if you could just, that'd be a free gimme, if you could. Now here's Vizier. And it's going to copy a pirate. Not ideal, I would say, as Sam's going to cycle a Sheltered Thicket, but it's better than nothing. We're back over to Black now. Looks like he's picked up an Attune. And he's going to use the Rootbound Crag to cast that powerful sorcery. 2 more energy on the way is going to bring Black up to 8. He's going to figure out exactly which land he wants. He's going to go with a beautiful island. That'll be his land for the turn. And now we'll see what the follow-up is going to be for Sam. Keep in mind, he hasn't activated his Planeswalker just yet in Vraska. See if it's going to go up or down. He still has a Scarab God in hand. We can't forget about the Confiscation Coup as well. And Black's got to be wary of Confiscation Coups on the other side, too.
Right.
Now, Brad doesn't have that many copies here this weekend, 1 main, 1 board, but Sam doesn't know that.
Yeah, Sam could be a lot more aggressive just casting stuff when it was, well, if Brad taps out, he just dies. Now that you aren't threatening an ultimate with Vraska, it's a little bit more complicated, and you are at risk of Confiscation Coup blowing you out if you don't proceed the right way.
Vraska up to 9. Sam tapping 5. There's a Scarab God again, past the turn back. So River's Rebuke bought Brad a little bit of time, but can he come all the way back now? That is the big question.
I guess if Sam has his own confiscation coup, then you care a lot less about the Scarab God being stolen because you just
Steal back.
take it right back.
Yep.
And it's Brad's whole turn when he's behind on the table.
Well, here is Confiscation Coup. Give me that Scarab God. That's what Nelson says. Down to 3 energy goes Brad. He'll be attacking here. Again, this Vizier is a pirate that does have Menace, and it's a Flying Thopter. So Vraska down to 6, but Vraska takes a long time to kill. Not easy to do. Black, Confiscation Coup this back. Thank you much. With the mana to activate the Scarab God. And he's going to do that right now. So he'll go digging through Nelson's graveyard, see what he wants to take. Glorybringer's not a bad choice.
That's fine.
Not a bad choice.
There really aren't any bad choices.
Yeah, and Brad's going to make his choice of extending the hand. As Sam Black is going to win this game and match over Brad Nelson, 2-1. 4-color energy gets the better of Nelson and his Team Energy deck. But you have to think, right, and we talked about this in the pregame show, if you're playing 4-color energy, it's for a reason. It's to get an edge in the mirror.